Now, given up all of our morning gains, let's see what the global market is like and whether or not you're seeing any rub-off of that. Asia did pretty okay, saw a solid rebound. The focal point, Japanese Nikkei, that managed to hold out over or 10 odd percent or so. Europe, though, is a bit of a flattish move there because most of these markets started off marginally higher, but they've cooled off since then. In fact, CAC is currently lower by about 0.5%, and the broader FTSE MIB is the one which is seeing a bigger cool off. It's headed in for another 200-point cut. Having said that, so far there is no red when it comes to at least the US futures. They're holding out pretty okay. But Vaishali, what is your own sense on which way the trading bias should be for the index right now? Should it be on the long or the short side?
I would say we continue with a short strategy because, market was showing today an intraday bounce, but it did not sustain even at higher levels. The resistance now comes to 24,400 levels. And now if we break yesterday's low, I think in all likelihood, we would be seeing 23,700 to 23,500 to start with. So yes, my bias is quite corrective.
Okay, so you do have a bias towards the short side because it seems like the pressure is building up as far as the market is concerned at the lowest point of the trading session. And let's take stock of which are the big pressure points in the markets right now. On the losing side, HDFC Bank is down 1.5%, so that's putting pressure. Bharti Airtel, though it's recovered from the lows of the day, it's still down almost 2%. SBI is down. ICICI Bank is down, while what's batting for the bulls today is L&T. That stock is holding out okay. Remember, Bank of America had come out with a note earlier in the day wherein they have downgraded the rest of the industrials, but they're maintaining their buy stance on L&T. And Reliance, of course, is in focus as well, up around 0.3%. Do remember, for Reliance, at the end of the month, the AGM is also scheduled, so all the chatter around RIL will start building up. But if you do have some short positions, Vaishali, where would you put it? Which are the candidates for perhaps a shorting opportunity right now?
So I would say that now Pharma also is showing some selling pressure. So I would now look at Aurobindo Pharma. It would be a conditional sell. Right now it is 1406. So if it breaks the 1400 levels, I think it would be a good short sell strategy to look for a target of 1380, 1370. And the other stock that I would look at is also REC now. Though it has held on for so long with a very strong approach, but I think today it's showing signs of weakness. So, well, with today's high as stop loss 600, I would look for a sell strategy going towards, I think, 550, 545 to start with.
Strategy and some of the interesting stocks that Vaishali is spotting. Having said that, sectorally, it's real estate, which is the mover today. Yesterday was FMCG. Today, it's definitely Realty. Godrej Properties higher by about almost 4%. And some of the other stocks, even though they've cooled off from the top of the day, but an Oberoi Realty, DLF, etc., are still managing to hold out. Kunal, is there a trade in any of the Realty names, or is it just a dead cat bounce?
I think it's just a bounce. I would not say a dead cat bounce. We have a bounce, but I think you can just play for 3-4% odd, not meaningful in terms of a trend for these names, because as it is, when we look at the last 2 months of price performance, many of the real estate stocks were already going through a grind for themselves. DLF had come back towards its 200 moving average, just around that 800, 820 odd mark, bounced off from those levels. You'd seen Oberoi Realty also going through a tad bit of underperformance, and many of the other non-F&O stocks had gone through a corrective wave over the last 2 months. I think except for Godrej Properties, which was the only stock which had continued to move up higher even in the last 2 months when the sector was going through a odd bit of correction. So I think when we look at this in terms of price performance, it now looks like that more of the stocks are going to a synchronized price corrective wave. So I think in a corrective wave, when you see these periodic bounces, we take that as an opportunity to try and exit, or maybe trim long positions, or maybe create fresh shorts.
Okay, point taken. But since we are talking about real estate sector, let me take it across to my colleague Prakash as well, because he's picking up from his exclusive sources that perhaps some sort of relaxation is possible, because indexation is something that the industry has been batting against, the indexation going away, that is. Hear out what Prakash has to say with respect to what his sources are telling him on the benefits or the relaxations that can come in. Take it away, Prakash.
Yes, an important development coming in, as we are learning from our sources, that the government is likely to make some changes to the budget proposals to revise LTCG tax on real estate transactions. We are given to understand that the government has taken a note and some relief measures are likely to be provided. a very significant development coming in as the government has taken various options into consideration on industry's demand, and some tweaks are expected in the proposal to address the industry's concern. We are given to understand that the government is likely to consider grandfathering till July 2024 as a relief for the real estate sector. Along with that, industry has also requested the government to provide customer with the option for selecting the regime, whether it is 20% LTCG tax with the benefit of indexation or 12.5% LTCG tax without benefit of indexation. And the choice should be left with the customer, and that is likely to be part of these amendments. We are given to understand that the finance minister is scheduled to table the finance bill today in the parliament, and some relief measures are likely to be announced for the real estate sector. Back to you.
Right, and perhaps that's what's aiding the move on realty. For now, we're going to take a very quick break. Come right back. We'll continue tracking markets on the other side.
Still below the 24,000 mark, and as far as the stocks are concerned, what's holding out in the green is real estate as a pack. Home First Finance is in focus. You also have Jyoti Labs, Himadri Special, Cera Sanitary, whereas some of the other names which are in the green right now. On the losing side, BEML, Marico, LIC Housing, Sundaram Finance, Power Finance Corporation, HDFC Life, these are on the back foot. But which are the big price volume buzzers? And Ansh is standing by to tell us that list. Hi Ansh.
Hi Anisha. So Britannia will be the first stock in focus as the stock has given a good breakout from its downward sloping channel. Along with this, it has also surpassed about 20 DMA along with good volume of 2 times its average trading volume of last 20 session, indicating good participation in today's breakout. Apart from this, Marico will be in focus as the stock has given a breakdown from its double top chart pattern with volume of around 2 times its average volume of last 20 sessions. Bharti Airtel is also in focus as this stock has also given a breakdown from its upward sloping support trend line which was intact for last 2 to 3 months. Also, it has slipped below its 20 DMA level. Lastly, Pfizer will be in focus as the stock has given a breakout from its 5-session consolidation pattern with volume of over 3 times its average volume of last 10 sessions, indicating very strong participation in today's breakout, indicating very strong positive sentiment as well. Apart from this breakout stocks, there are high chances of LIC Housing Finance and Manipur Finance getting into ban list for tomorrow. So keep an eye on these stocks.
Okay, that we will. And let's also welcome on board Pawan Parekh to talk about, what he's making of the market right now. Pawan, hi, afternoon. Good to have you on the show. What's the best way to digest the global rout that we're amidst in? Don't know if it's settling just yet.
Yeah, hi Aisha. So one thing is very clear, whatever is happening across the globe, East Asia or something which is closer to India on Bangladesh side, or maybe something in US, I must tell you, these are not events for 1 day or 1 week. These will have repercussions at least for a few months. And until then, investors have to be very cautious. The best way to play in this kind of market is to play either through defensives or through play stories wherein the earning certainty is very high. Because after the kind of run-up that we've seen in last 2 years or so, the margin of safety is not very much there because stocks are at all-time high valuations, and those valuations are based on estimates which are at very elevated levels. If the company is not going to meet those estimates, I must tell you the margin of safety is not there, and some of these stocks can see very sharp fall. Having said that, I would always advise investors to remain invested in the market because the India story continues to remain very strong. Right. The only thing that you need to be careful of is to buy companies which are a bit defensives or companies wherein earning certainty is high, so that you don't get caught at the wrong end.
Okay, yeah, so time to look inwards and look at some of those domestic facing companies as well for the moment. But actually, since we're talking about the geopolitical issues which are happening and all that is impacting the market mood right now, let's also hear out what the Minister of External Affairs, Mr. S. Jaishankar, had to say on what's happening in Bangladesh. He was speaking at the floor of the parliament earlier today. Let's hear out.
Mr. Chairman, sir, I rise to apprise this august House of certain recent developments pertaining to Bangladesh. As honourable members are aware, India-Bangladesh relations have been exceptionally close for many decades over many governments. Concern about recent violence and instability there is shared across the political spectrum. Since the election in January 2024, there has been considerable tension, deep divides, and growing polarization in Bangladesh politics. This underlying foundation aggravated a student agitation that started in June this year. There was growing violence, including attacks on public buildings and infrastructure, as well as traffic and rail obstruction. The violence continued through the month of July. Throughout this period, we repeatedly counseled restraint and urged that the situation be diffused through dialogue.
Well, that's the situation in Bangladesh. More importantly, the susceptible companies which have some share of their exports coming in from Bangladesh or manufacturing facilities, they're the ones definitely which are taking a knock. And case in point being Marico, for instance, which is down about almost 5.5%. In fact, Sharath earlier today did dig out that data on the companies which do business and have linkages with Bangladesh and which are bound to get impacted. He did analyze the kind of revenue share as well that they get in from the Bangladesh geography. In fact, let's take it across to him and analyze that.
Well, currently we can expect operational impact coming in, and of course this is a short-term basis actually, and of course the textile and the FMCG pack, that is something which we'll be watching out for. Now let's break it down into the impact analysis. The first one being the Bangladesh's impact on stocks which are having higher percent of revenue coming in. We are having Pearl Global, almost 24% of the revenue comes from there. Amongst the larger players, Marico almost 10 to 11% revenue comes, and also Imami, that's around 6%. So FMCG pack also, there are certain names where we can expect a negative impact because these are the sales. Also there are other companies where the revenue exposure is less than 5%. These are largely consumption names. Also we are having something from the agri space which is Bayer Crop, GCPL, Britannia, Vikas Lifecare, Asian Paints, Pidilite, Jubilant Foodworks, to name a few. Also there are certain companies where there is a sources where sourcing happens, especially the sourcing happens in the textile industry. So what happens is any negative impact happens in the country itself, their sourcing or their factories, they start shutting down. First one being PDS, they are having factories in Bangladesh and roughly 55 to 60% of sourcing revenue comes. Also Pearl Global, if you look at it, that is roughly 50 to 60% of the plants are actually coming from Bangladesh plants itself, and yesterday itself they announced on the exchange filings that they are closing temporarily all their operations in Bangladesh. VIP Industries, it's a roughly 30 to 35% capacity, while Trent also sources from Hong Kong and Thailand and also has exposure in Bangladesh. Now also let's look at the global apparels exporters. Over here itself it's slightly positive reaction because the global companies will be looking at Bangladesh plus one supply chain. Now the names include such as Welspun India, Trident, Indacount and Himmat Singh said. Also another aspect of the textile industry is the yarn exporter. Interestingly, India exports roughly 25 to 30% of yarn exports to Bangladesh territory, and it might be sentimentally negative going ahead, especially for companies such as Vardhaman Textiles. Even Reliance has a unit which sells, and also spinning mills such as KPR mills as well as Nahar spinning mills.
Right, Shara, thanks for that analysis. Well, on one end, there's, of course, Bangladesh. There's also, the continual West Asia troubles which are going on. But now it's UK, which is the latest on can't say geopolitical tensions, but unrest definitely. Nearly 400 people have been arrested after 6 days of riots in parts of England and Northern Ireland. The police were attacked in Plymouth as they attempted to keep rival protesters apart. Petrol bombs were thrown at officers in Belfast, and police dealt with unrest in east of Birmingham as well. In fact, over the past week, dozens of police officers were injured and shops, cars and homes damaged in the disorder which is currently under play in UK. It erupted the night after 3 children were killed in Southport in a stabbing attack last Monday. This followed false rumours which spread online that a suspect was a Muslim asylum seeker. India has also issued a travel advisory for its citizens travelling to the UK, urging them to exercise caution following a wave of violent protests in several British cities. Okay, let's get back to markets in the meantime. Well, it's status quo really, though we've drifted a little bit further lower. We're now down about almost 78 odd points on the Nifty futures, resurrected a little bit from there, but clearly not out of the woods still. That really is the takeaway right now. Pawan, till this global uncertainty plays out, and now there's geopolitical, civil unrest erupting in many of the countries, like we just highlighted. What is your own sense on whether or not this could be the time, perhaps, to diversify your portfolio, not have all the eggs in one basket, not have total exposure only into equities?
I think, we've always been a proponents of having a diversified portfolio, and within equities also a diversified holding across sectors. I think what is really required at this point in time to reposition the entire portfolio into sectors which we think there's margin of safety. Okay, so we are actually quite positive on sectors on which we are actually nibbling into is something like pharma, which is a great defense, I think, and at the same time the growth story is pretty comfortable out there. And then we are looking at some very India specific stories like, the infra spend or the power spend is not going to ebb anywhere soon. I think it's a cycle at least for next 5-10 years. And then I think with good monsoons, we are nibbling into a few consumer names. So while we continue to own a diversified portfolio, what really important from our point of view is to position the portfolio in the right stocks and sectors.
Point taken. Just wanted to talk about the latest coming in from the Paris Olympics as well. Vinesh Fogart has just beat the reigning world number 1 Yui Sasaki of Japan in women's 50 kg freestyle as well. So that's no mean feat. So that's a big victory coming in for India. Fogart beating the reigning number world champion as far as the 50 kg category is concerned in women's freestyle. You have important other events lined up today as well. Of course, Neeraj Chopra is somebody who is going to begin his quest to defend his crown today. You also have, of course, the Indian hockey team who's going to come against Germany today. So it's going to be a very important sporting day for India. And in fact, this is something that has started on a good note for us. We have seen Manu Bhaker actually bag a couple of medals for us as well. And she's the first Indian woman shooter to win a medal at the Olympics. First Indian to win 2 medals at the same Olympics. The women who ended India's 12-year-long medal drought in shooting at Olympics. I'm sure you guessed it by now. Of course, we're talking about Manu Bhaker, the 22-year-old girl who actually achieved this mean feat. We do have her talking to Navika Kumar, Times Network's editor-in-chief. Hear out what the conversation was like between the two.
I feel really happy and really grateful that I could win these 2 medals for my country. Although we all were expecting at least 1 medal because we were training in a way. The training was so intense that we were prepared for at least 1 medal. And the second one was like dream come true for me. And I'm really, I can't thank enough I can't thank God enough. I can't thank my coaches and the support that I've been getting from people for the medals and for the support that they've given me all these years. So I would say that all this was not possible without the support of so many people who worked behind the scenes. My friends, my family, my coach Jaspal sir, PT Usha ma'am, the IOA organization. So I would say that it was not possible because they put in so much of effort behind the scenes so that I was able to deliver on the big stage and win medals for my country.
Amazing. Have you celebrated yet with the medals, or have you already decided to work hard for the Los Angeles Olympics? How does it work in an athlete's mind?
Honestly, it's both. So I'm looking forward to the LA 2028 already. But I'm also happy that this time it was a success, although gold would be a better medal. But I'm really grateful for the 2 medals that I got. So now we know that we are going in the right direction and we need to stick to this only. So the plan is the same, plan remains the same. The celebrations, I have celebrated here with my Indian team as well. And I will celebrate once I'm back in India with my friends and family as well.
Superb. And when you missed the 3rd medal by a whisker, how did it feel then?
I put an equal amount of hard work in all my three events: mixed doubles, air pistol, sports pistol. The qualifications were great. I performed world class. And I would say the finals were also going great. Two made the medal, like third place, and fourth place. So I think consistency is what matters most to me. And I feel like I'm more consistent now with my performances and everything. And I'm sure that this will help me in the longer term. So looking forward to the next competitions now.
Doing India proud right from the Olympics. But let's get back to our market discussion. And Vaishali, just wanted to get in a sense of how you're approaching FMCG ex Marico right now, considering that was one of the hiding spaces yesterday and perhaps the only resilient one.
Well, so right now we are seeing good selling emerging even in Marico. And this indicates that, well, in all likelihood, this could go into a reversal. But for now, the near-term support lies at 600. So we are pretty much close to the support level. Let's see what happens from there on.
Okay, point taken. So that's the view coming in as far as the FMCG basket is concerned and the view there. But time now to bring on board Sharad as well to talk to us about what the latest dealing room chatter is like. Sharad?
Well, yes, in focus is Mankind Pharma, and what we are gathering from dealers is that domestic institution buying has been seen across several counters in this stock. Over the last 4 trading sessions, interestingly, there has been buying coming, and the volumes itself, they have also actually picked up over the last 2 trading sessions. Now, the DI is currently having 7.4% stake in the company as per the recent shareholding pattern, and the key DIs invested already in the company includes the names such as Axis Mutual Fund and SBI Mutual Fund. Also, the company will be meeting institutional investors tomorrow, which is August 7. And the important triggers of the company include, of course, the value addition expected from Bharat Serum's recent acquisition. Company delivered a strong Q1 earnings across all the parameters as per analysts. And interestingly, the company had stated that the company will be going ahead by increasing the share in the chronic segment as well.
Okay, that's the latest coming in as far as some of these names are concerned. Pawan, what's the view on Pharma? Because things had started looking up. Do you think this is going to be something which is going to be a structural story for the next few quarters, and even agrochems and specialty chemicals? Because that's something which has been looking up. Is that something which you want to invest from here on, Pawan?
Pharma, certainly yes, because there are structural tailwinds both at the macro and micro level. So one thing that we all know for last 1 year is that the price erosion concerns in the developed market, primarily US, that's behind us, and I think that is going to stay benign at least for next 2-3 years. At the micro level, most of the leading companies, they have some blockbuster molecules in the pipeline, which should provide tailwinds to the earnings at least for next 2-3 years. And obviously, 2-3 years is a very good time for these companies to build a future pipeline. And add to that, I think we will see some green shoots emerging out of the Biosecure Act that was that's in US for some of our CDMO companies over the next 2-3 years. So pharma definitely looks pretty exciting to us. Some of the pharma companies, you can complain that valuations are a bit on the higher side, but I think when a sector goes through a tailwind, valuations continue to remain high. My request to investors is also to go through the phase of 2012 to 2016 when these pharma companies were doing well. Valuations were actually similar to the FMCG names. So I think this is one sector wherein there is scope for valuation to get further rated, and earning momentum is here to continue. On the agrochemicals and specialty chemicals side, I am not really sure, if we should still get into these stocks or not, because China is a big angle out here, and my personal sense is that unless China's demand revives, there is a very high risk for several chemicals. China will still continue to dump their product across the globe. So I would not, even if these companies deliver 1 or 2 good quarters of numbers, I would not celebrate and get into these stocks. I would still actually wait for more fundamental signs to get into the stock at this point in time.
Right. Okay, Pawan, stay with us. Just 10 odd minutes left to go before we wind up for the day. So let's get in some BTST trades as well going. Kunal, what's on your list?
So in terms of the BTST trades, I would look at 2 buy calls. The first one is upon ITC. That stock apparently has been holding up pretty well. So I think closer to 390, 490, 485 mark where the stock is trading currently. So buy with a target of 500. Stop loss could be kept at 476. And Godrej Consumers is the other stock which is completing a swing breakout on the short-term chart. So would suggest a buy with 1530 as a target and stop loss at 1457.
Right. Vaishali, what about your BTST ideas?
So, well, I would look at Cipla. Cipla, in spite of all the corrective move that we are seeing, it's still holding well. So I would say 1510 would act as a stop loss, and 1560 could be the next target. So that would be one of the BTSTs. And the other one that I'm looking at is Excel in the cash category. That is doing very well right now. And I would say, well, it's already 8% up, but I think it calls for further upside move. Volume is also exceptionally high. So 1340 would act as the support, and 1410 could be the next step.
Okay, that point is taken. What else is happening in the markets right now? Well, not much. We continue to be quite in the red right now. In fact, we are likely to close towards the lowest point of the trading session. Kunal, what should be the index trade if at all right now? Because Nifty Realty, which was doing very well and a lot of stocks were actually holding out, they have completely kind of given up those gains. The market is in the red and at the lowest point of the trading session. Is tomorrow going to be another day of decline, you believe?
I think so, and I believe that either you go short on the markets, or at least not to create any fresh longs even at current levels, because looking at the way the indices have shaped up in the last couple of days, and especially I think today, where you're seeing additional pressure for the Nifty right from the time it opened at 24,400 odd mark. So I think closer to 24,400, 24,500 is where I indicated a lot of resistances, and could be a good zone where traders could look at a fresh short or building up a fresh short positions on the indices. Either you carry forward those short positions, or try and create maybe few additional positions on the short side at these levels. So I think that should be the bias for index trader. We need decisive moves about 24,500 mark for the index to come out of this major volatile or a corrective phase, and I would probably believe that looking at the global construct, that could be some time away.
Okay, let's see when it does happen. It looks like it's sometime away as well. But Pawan, what's the view on rural recovery, the FMCG basket, and is this the time to perhaps still look at them positively, or do you think the first 10-15% is probably just lost on that, and now it's going to be maybe high single digit to a teen kind of return that we'll see on the stocks from here on for the rest of the year?
I think FMCG to us looks pretty interesting for a couple of reasons. One is obviously the rural recovery that you spoke about. For most of these FMCG companies, rural is a bigger piece than the urban thing. Obviously, a substantial part of India's population stays in rural India. So I think if rural India revives, that's a very big plus for these companies. Secondly, if you look at FMCG sector, what they've done in last, say, 4 or 5 years, practically the returns have been very low, maybe sub-FD returns, right? And considering the current environment also, when you think there's a lot of global volatility, here, FMCG sector provides you a good safe haven in that sense, wherein, you have a good earnings visibility. And I must say that most of the stocks in FMCG, since they've not performed in last 3-4 years, valuations are reasonable. You may not be happy with 40-50p 1 or 1.5 year forward, but I would want to highlight given the kind of ROEs and cash flow profile that these companies have. I would want to believe that in the bearish or the bearish cycle, I think they won't go below 35, 40 or 45p multiples. So considering the relative positioning and the absolute positioning, I think FMCG looks pretty interesting to us. In fact, in addition to FMCG, the extension of FMCG, which is consumer discretionary, I think a lot of these stocks in that space also looking pretty interesting. And once again, another extension to the consumer sector is building materials. I think last 3-4 years, real estate has done phenomenally well, but you look at these building material companies, they haven't done well at all, except for cables and wires companies. So I think, with a lag, demand for building materials also will come back, and a lot of these companies in this space look pretty interesting to us. So on an aggregate basis, consumer or FMCG as a bigger basket looks pretty interesting to us.
Right, okay, on that note, Pawan, good to have you on the show. Vaishali, Kunal, we'll let you guys go as well.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.